Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Okay, my name's Imran.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've seen some of your stuff on YouTube, right?
My
I like your style, man. So your name, sorry?
It's Jagraj Singh.
Jagraj Singh. Okay, very nice to meet you, man. So the reason I wanted to obviously talk to you and thank you for stopping and giving us your time is because, as we said, that if we're straight to the point, culturally between subcontinental Muslims and Sikhs, there is a conflict, right?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
culturally, right? I'm not saying that it's a religious conflict. I don't think that you guys hate us, and nor does our religion teach us to hate you guys, right? But because of things that have happened in terms of the historical context, I think it's bubbled down. There's some underlying issues, right? Sure. And I think part of it from the Muslims' perspective is that we don't actually understand Sikhs, right? And when I was looking into the history of it, I saw to some extent there was like a lot of strong relationships. For example, I think it was the sixth guru that built a mosque, right? Something like that. So
exactly.
Like, when we as Muslims hear things like this, how can we not look over and think, well, you know what? There's some nice people there that did bring us benefits, right? So I thought the purpose of this, from my perspective and our perspective, would be to basically you explain some of the things and the relationships that the Sikhs and the Muslims had that were perhaps more positive as opposed to the more negative ones that we know.
Yeah, sure,
right?
man, absolutely. At the end of the day, we as a channel or as a movement or whatever it is, Sikhi, we're trying to spread the message of the oneness of the divine, and also that our messages that Guru said to connect, not to spend their life not connecting. Because a lot of people, I think nowadays in the modern world, they have this idea that religion is about believing in God. The thing is, and then when normally it tends to be when they believe in God, they tend to also say, well, my God is better than your God. Our religion is better than your religion. But what we're trying to say is, look, that the divine one, God doesn't really care about religion. What he cares about though is that we connect. So in effect, our first guru, when they came here upon the earth, they were sent. They were sent by the divine, We don't see that, because a lot of people sometimes now, this is no criticism of Muslims, because probably the Sikhs haven't spread that message. But the thing is, people start thinking that Sikhism is man-made. Because they think, oh, well, Guru Nanak Dev Ji made the religion. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji, if you asked him who made the religion, they would say, look, I was sent upon this earth by the one. And I was given a mission, right, to spread the message of the truth, of the Shabad. So where they went out, they went and spread out and singing the word. So for us, it is revelation. So that's a big important thing that I think that the Muslim community might want to know, that as far as Sikhism is concerned, it's divinely ordained, and it's revelation that Guruji is speaking. The words of Guru Nanak Dev Ji for us are not just the words of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they're the words of God spoken through him. And in fact, he says it in his Bani. He says, Jaise mein aave, jaisi mein aave qasam ki bani, dasra kari gyan mein lalo. He says, oh Lalo, as the Bani of God comes to me, so I speak out. So the message is very simple. There's one creator, he made all of us, and that one's light is inside all of us. Doesn't matter if you're Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, whether you're male or female, whether you're gay or straight, the divine light is inside everybody. And the purpose of the human life is like the most valuable thing you could ever have in your life, just the human life. Animals, everything in this world thirsts for this one chance to be a human. And the point of the human life is that we should connect to the one. It's not that we spend our life believing in God, but that we should, obviously we've got to be a good person, but that we should connect. And that we believe, like at the hair, top of the head, there's like a divine spot. Call it the Godhead.
Is that where it's covered?
It's covered, and it's, in fact, many religions cover it. It's exactly where the yarmulke will sit on top of the Jew's head as well. It is actually a divine spot, and what we believe in, that you can connect to the one and you can experience the one. And that experience is what we seeks to recreate, and then create so much that it becomes part of your normal routine, that you spend your whole day in the awareness of God. Now you can call him Allah, you can call him, Jesus, whatever you want. The point is though, that it's the connection that we seek. Okay,
so just so I understand, are you saying that there's no, and I'm going to phrase it in a different way, but let me know if I understood it right, that there's no point believing in God if you don't have a relationship with him. So you guys put an emphasis on having a relationship with God. Okay, fantastic. Because
so belief is kind of like having a long-term girlfriend, long distance relationship. Now, what's better than long distance relationship is a close relationship. So many people have a long distance relationship. They are believe in you, God, but they don't bring God here. So for us, God is inside. And the point of human life is to experience that divine inside us. It's like the mind is like a temple.
Okay, fantastic, and thank you for that.
So the Gurus weren't afraid of saying, look, this is the true way. In the same way, actually, the very first words of Guru Nanak Dev Ji might be interesting to you. When he was made the Guru by God, the very first thing he says, na koi Hindu, na Musliman. What that means, there is no Hindu, there is no Muslim. So what is there?
Just one.
People.
Okay.
There's 6 billion people. Obviously, back then there was a lot less, yeah?
Okay.
But there's just people,
Yeah.
and there's God.
Yeah.
So in fact, religion itself is just a document, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's a theory.
Yeah.
What's really there is people.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter to God. Like if you're a Muslim and I'm a Sikh, we're not going to get judged upon what we believed.
Yeah.
We're going to get judged upon our deeds.
Okay.
Yeah, how we thought,
Yeah.
how we spoke, how we acted. These are the things that are going to judge us. So everybody's going to get judged, but it's not going to be judged upon what you believe. It's going to be upon the actual actions. You see what I mean? And so Guru. So when you said the similarity, so answer the question. The similarities exist because the truth is common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean Sikhi would never say that Guru Sahib ever took anything from other religion.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just because it's there.
It's just that it's there.
Yeah, the Tawheed. Yeah, we believe in the Tawheed, the oneness of God.
Yeah.
But we don't believe that God is separate from the world.
Right.
We believe God is immanent, everywhere, and separate.
Okay.
It's hard to get your head around it. You know what I mean?
Okay. So do you believe that like we are a part of God, like physically?
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah, we believe, that the divine is everywhere, inside everything. So God is all around us, and there's only God. Mara says, he says there's nothing but God. Sab Gobind hai, sab Gobind hai, Gobind bin nahi koi. There's nothing but God. So God is inside us, all around us, everywhere.
So how do you define God? 'Cause that's interesting, right? Because and I'm not trying to turn this into a debate, but it's just for me to get a better understanding. And I'm sure you know, obviously, our belief is quite opposite to that, right? Like we believe that God is very different to His creation, right? For example, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ is a verse in the Quran which basically says that there is nothing like unto Him, meaning we can't compare anything to His magnificence, His majesty, His greatness.
I agree with you, brother.
Right?
I totally agree with you.
And for that reason, we say that this is a creation of God, a product of God's magnificence, but not a part of God, right? I mean...
what I said is that God is nothing like anything we ever think. There's nothing like God. There's nothing like God in the whole world. However, this is inside every single thing. He sustains it.
But do you mean He's inside it literally? Because in the Quran, for example, it says
actually, we would say that we are inside God.
Yeah.
We wouldn't say that God is in the world. We would say everything is like an illusion. Okay. The world isn't real. Okay. It's just God is created it. Yeah. But then it's going to go back to God. There's nothing there.
Okay, so and like when we have a belief, right? We base our belief on the Quran, which we believe to be the divinely inspired word of our Creator. Right. And for that reason, we're like, okay, it's credible. You see what I'm saying? Because we believe it's from God. When this belief that you have, like where do you derive it from? Because of course, like me as someone who's a sincere seeker of truth, right? I have to ask myself, where did it come from? Like who said it, right? So is this something that you're saying God Himself said? And if so, like how do you know God actually said that? Okay. Because you mentioned that Islam has some truth in it, and that truth is evident in Sikhism, right? But then you also said that God doesn't really care about religion. And I don't like to use the word religion. In Islam, there's no such word as religion. I mean, Islam is not religion, it's a deen, which means way of life, right? It's a way of life.
Your question is, how do we know that the Bani is coming from God? And how do we know that we can believe in it? Well,
Bani, you mean revelation?
But we mean the words the Guru said, yeah? Okay. Guru wrote stuff in revelation, but they wrote it in poetry. Okay. Now, a good quote, let's say, for example, you might say, how do you get it from? Well, the Guru say, the Guru said this quite specifically. Guru Ram Das, our fourth Guru, says very specifically that O Sikhs, accept my word as the truth upon the truth. God Himself is making me say it. What could be more clear? Well, he's saying in it that he's saying, so we believe in our Guru. Yeah. In the same way, like you would believe in it because Prophet Muhammad said so.
Actually, but that's also not true.
Well,
because the Quran, it gives us a falsification test, because the way we see it is that out of God's mercy, even though it is God speaking, we should just accept. We appreciate that God appreciates our weakness as human beings, and sometimes we need reassurance, right? So God, in, for example, chapter 2 of the Quran, He says, if you are in doubt about this revelation that we have sent down upon our servants, then produce one chapter like it, right? So, I mean, from
I've seen that before. I watched quite a lot of videos by the...
So it's Professor Gary Singh Tao, and I wanted to analyse this video from my brother's channel by Jagraj Singh, and the video is very interesting, and I think this Singh might have Brahmgyan, so he has the knowledge from doing Maharaj Seva or Seva of Guru Bani Katha, and he has obviously studied it and studied philosophy. And I just wanted to also correct my Muslim brother and also just emphasize and maybe elaborate a little bit further in detail how Sikhism has a much more deeper understanding of creation and human existence, and also the science of people and the science of human life on this planet. And this knowledge also comes from the three books of the Ved. So this is something that spans across time. Islam is very limited, and I have covered this in my Science and Religion audiobook. And a lot of Gurbani is basically a re-enumeration of Vedanta, or Sanskrit, is taken Sanskrit into the modern era. So as I've said and have talked about in the past, that the avatar of the Gurus, the tenants of the knowledge, was tasked to come to this world, to this planet, which is a mind-based planet, and science is actually discovering that matter is not even matter. When they look at matter closely, it resembles more the mind. And this is going into Nirvana and Buddhism, and also there's a link between Buddhism and Sikhism, which is the whole thing with the serpent and the cobra. You'll see Guru Nanak and the cobra, and you'll see also the cobra depicted in Buddhism. And that itself is a separate symbolism, which the serpent represents Maya and the material, and the dominion of the material realm and the material worlds. And again, we're going into Rig, Psalm and Atharva, the Ved, the three books. So the heavenly planets, the hellish planets and the earthly planets. Now, in the avatar, the human form, the bipedal form, which is the head, the odd, the arms, the body, the cerebello, and then the weapon, the shastra. If we look at that analogy, Sikhs and the Gurus of the Sikh knowledge, of Gurbani, had this knowledge before they even incarnated onto the planet. So the knowledge of Sikhi is potentially predates Sikhism. The knowledge of Guru Nanak predates 500 years. This knowledge is a very ancient knowledge. This goes back to the mystery schools, and we're talking thousands of years. And this knowledge has been phasing out as Buddhism phased out 6,000 years ago. Christianity, as they say Krishna or Krishnan, it was actually Christian, comes from, derived from Christ, or Christ is actually derived from Krish. There's similarities between Hinduism, how Krishna had 12 apostles, 12 followers, and also Jesus. So this is all to do with astrology and stars, and how the sun was actually S-U-N, as in the sun in the sky, and going back to how we are all connected to space and the stars, and a sister as in a S-I-S, star, and a sun as in a sun in the sky. And this is all to do with astrology and all the ancient mystery schools, and going back to the times of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Babylon, Sumeria, ancient Middle East, and even the fact that the Bible, the story of the Bible is 100,000 years old. So what you will see in Genesis and the Old Testament has been written 100,000 years ago in the Middle East, before even the time of Christ. So the true gurus of the Sikh knowledge understood this. They had this knowledge locked and encapsulated into them from many lifetimes or previous lifetimes. And this is how they were able to share this knowledge and then pass this light, this jolt, this understanding onto other saints, other prophets, other gurus across the 200 years. And even the seers and the Bir and the Sufi people understood that this knowledge was there before, because it's in the language, and it's in the language of Farsi. So this was just a re-enumeration of different cultures. There is Islam in Hinduism, there's Hinduism in Islam, and all of this culture in a sense is connected. But the modern Islam, or the Islam that a lot of people understand to be true, is saying that if you're not a Muslim and you don't follow the teachings of Islam, you go to hell. Well, this is a very shallow and very limited way of thinking. Because what is hell? You could have an existence of hell on this planet. My perception of hell is wanting to change somebody and inflicting suffering on that person. So I will experience hell this way, depending on what my path is, what my dharma is. From karma comes dharma. So Bhai Jagraj Singh understands this, but my Muslim brother doesn't unfortunately understand this. And I will talk about potentially other worlds and other life forms and how reincarnation happens across planets, and I've covered this in my previous videos. If you want to go through this channel and have a look at the other videos, you can do that, but it goes into some depth on how reincarnation actually works and how other life forms, there's other aliens out there, there's other life forms out there, the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the life forms that were living on this planet 1 million years ago on Earth were simply avatars, the descendants that came to Earth, and they had their own ego. So if you look at the ancient aliens concept of all of the cultures and the whole thing with Shabad, which is Sanskrit, and that vibration, that sound, the sound of the Naad, goes back to the times of Egypt, which they said was song, and you have hymn in Christianity. So there's a link between all of the religions, and my colleague, my brother, Bhai Jagraj Singh understands this. So this is a much deeper concept of human science. Humans need to live righteously. There is a science, there's a karma to this. And if you are just, the universe is just. And we have the universe inside of us. It's a microcosm of a macrocosm. So if we look in a microscope, we will see the same thing as if we look in a telescope. That pattern is everywhere, and the Gurus could see this. They had the vision to see this. Our eyes are only tuned in to see 1% of the visual spectrum of light, the visual frequency, but I believe that my Gurus could see more than this. They could perceive more than this. So what does Islam perceive? What is perception? A linguist could potentially make 10 words into having 4 rhetorical questions, but as the Singh said, that shouldn't define a whole entire religion, because Dasme Pacha Guru Gobind Singh recited the full Guru Granth Sahib from memory. When the scriptures were lost, they meditated and they recited the entire pages of the Guru Granth Sahib. They recited from memory. They recalled all of that knowledge that was written from memory, and it wasn't even memory, it was coming to them. Now science has discovered, and this is not science that you will be taught in school, so the mainstream science is actually very old science, which is 100 years old. There is newer sciences, but we're not told about it in the mainstream, and it's only if you worked in higher up within the scientific industry, and you will know what this knowledge is. And that is something that I have done and that I'm aware of. And in fact, NASA have analysed the Guru Granth Sahib, and they've analysed how we talk about planets, and also how there's knowledge about how everything works in the cosmos, and that's very deep as well. And how even from a quantum understanding of information and particles, how in the Guru Granth Sahib it's written that when an animal consumes the vegetation or the flora of the earth, that information is locked into the very atoms and molecules of what that animal is eating. The code is inside the atoms. When it consumes that food, it then knows how to live its life. And this is for the animals. And yes, animals do have a soul. Whether I believe that plants are on a lower karmic scale, I don't think they are. I think potentially plants are higher. But animal forms, yes, we are obviously animals, but we have this consciousness, this higher consciousness that we're not aware of. And within, a study was done some years ago between Buddhist and Sikh people, and what they found is that Sikh people and Buddhist people have a part of the brain which is the unconscious brain, which is active when you go to sleep, which is the brain that repairs the body and causes you to dream and causes your subconscious mind to work out how to live your life and control everything. Sikhs actually have 30% of this subconscious brain active whilst they're awake. And in other people, this subconscious brain is not awake or it's not activated. So that's a very interesting study that was done in Buddhist people and also Sikh people. So have Sikh people earned the dharam through their karma? Of course. So somebody who is born a Sikh on a path of practicing Sikh, a devout Sikh, has earned the tools, has also earned the anatomy, the brain, and the electrical firing patterns in the brain, and how the brain makes different links, and how the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain works. And this is something that science doesn't understand. One thing that is more complex than 10 verses or 10 words having 40 rhetorical definitions or devices is the sequencing of the human DNA, the protein in the human DNA. And it's only the creation and God that could do that. As my brother said, human life is a miracle. There's a lot more to life than just sitting there and arguing about this. Somebody who analyzes things and understands things on a much deeper scale will tell you that religion just simply means to reconnect. The word religion means to reconnect. The religion is like a jacket that you wear to protect you from the rain and the snow. And now those jackets have all got designer labels on as an analogy. And everybody's saying my jacket has got a better label than yours. Well, that's not what religion was for. It was there to guide us and protect us. But this is why Guru said that if you're living on a righteous path, if you're not harming anybody, if you have care, if you have compassion, if you have love, if you understand things, if you have humility, these values will make you a better human. And Guru Nanak said, before becoming a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu or a Sikh, first learn how to be human. So this is something that they knew, which was very ancient. Humans have forgotten who they are. Humans go back 2, 3, 4, 5 million years. There were civilized humans in the East, in India, 2 to 3 million years ago, perhaps even more. And then we go on into giants, which are in the Bible. This is a very ancient understanding of humans, and humans go back maybe 2 to 5 million years ago. This is civilized humans with spirituality, with religion, with music, with dance, with teachings, with culture. All of this, as well as a vast, huge amount of spiritual knowledge. And even in the Greeks, ancient Greeks were actually Indian. Even in the times of Plato, and Plato written, and that humans have forgotten who they are and what they represent, what they mean, and where they come from. 75% of your human life is actually dedicated to other people. A lot of people will go through their entire life and not even realize that fact, that 75% of your life is dedicated to those around you. So we are an organism that needs to work together. And when we fight, this is like a cancer. And this is obviously causing, the earth is connected to us and we are connected to the earth. And this is why we see so much just chaos and disruption in the world. The giants go back to Vedanta, that could live 1 million years or 100,000 years. We're going into the different ages now, of Kaljug, Satyajug, Dwapar, Treta. We're looking at all of those different ages. And what does Islam say about the giants that lived upon earth 2 million years ago? Did those giants have a concept of God? If we just watch this clip here.
Apply the same criteria to the Quran. The Quran said that if you're in doubt about what we have revealed upon our servant, produce even a chapter like it. The smallest chapter is only 10 words.
Right.
The smallest chapter, and this is not me trying to debate with you, bro. This is not me trying to I'm trying to convert
So the ayah, you're talking about the ayah, yeah?
No. There's 3 ayah, and the 3 ayat are 10 words, yeah?
Okay.
This is just me being sincere, just sharing something with you that I think you.
So how many are in there?
Take a guess. In 10 words.
In 10 words?
In 10 words, how many rhetorical devices are in those 10 words? Take a guess.
20?
That would be impressive though, right?
But how many are there?
40.
40. Yeah, I mean,
And this is not subjective. This is, the Arabic language has been preserved, and you can go into the language.
bro, you can't judge something by rhetorical devices.
No, but let me tell you why I can.
Well, you
right?
can't.
Let me tell you
Go
why I
on.
can. Let me tell you why I can. Because a miracle, just hear me out for a second. A miracle by definition is something that is outside the capacity of human beings or nature. For example, if I point my finger at the moon and the moon splits, that's a miracle because there's no connection between my finger and the moon, right? So here Allah is trying to say that this Quran is outside the capacity of human beings. It's a miracle because it can only be from
Bro,
me.
let me correct you on that. I got your point. Go on.
Let me just conclude, right? So Allah is saying that this is outside the capacity of human beings. No human being can mess with this, right? And the way to test it is go and do it. It either came from God or from the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. So test it. And here, the smallest sample is only 10 words. And within those 10 words, there are 40 rhetorical devices. So as a human being who doubts the Quran being from God would have to either show how a human being could include 40 rhetorical devices in 10 words, or they would then have to also try and do it themselves. But that's not it. It's not just the Quran has 40 rhetorical devices in those 10 words. But usually, like, you know when you rap, I used to be a rapper, yeah? In my past.
We are at the famous site of the giant footprint, or the footprint of God, here near Mphaluzi in South Africa, very close to the Swaziland border. Now this is one of the greatest examples of an ancient footprint, a giant footprint about 4 feet high, in rough granite. It's between 200 million and 3 billion years old. That's what geologists will tell you. I'm going to just take you, if you follow me, up to the top where it's imprinted against the side of the rock, which means it's been around for so long that the tectonic plates and the movements have actually pushed it up at the apex of this little outcrop. It's quite spectacular, so just walk with me and I'll show you. I don't know of any other example of a footprint in rock that is as amazing as this, and this should be drawing 20 million tourists to South Africa every year, and nobody knows about it. It's unbelievable.
Until your mind is in divine bliss, yeah, that's the Sukni side. Imagine we've got 430 young. We'll go to Yadal Istat, yeah, Jab Sahib, Jati Sahib. Yeah, the prayers are so profound, so divine. When we at South of Pakistan in Gurdwara, every Sunday we do Katha, Katha with explanation of the Bani. Do you know Jati Sahib? The first prayer of the Guru Nanak, you know.
There we have it. Let's get closer.
The very first prayer. The second prayer is Jab Sahib. Jati Sahib, it's got 40 verses.
Oh wow.
This
is just beautiful. Look at this. There's the, you know, when you, there's the big toe and the other 4 toes down to the small toe, down to the heel. What's fascinating about this is anybody that does a study of this will notice this piece sticking out here. It's like when you put your foot in mud and you pull it out, your toes will lift up a little mud where your toes were, and that's exactly what seems to have happened here. This rough granite is just it's pulled up. This overhang here, it's spectacular. And I see that people have been visiting here because they've been leaving little coins here, which is wonderful. Maybe just come closer and show
so Guru obviously writes a letter to them. That's a letter to him, yeah?
This
and in that letter, they
more
start
closer.
off by using words that are very Islamic. You should read that, because I would say that Guru Gobind Singh proved that bit wrong.
Well, I don't know who else has filmed this, but I think we'll put this up for everybody to see, for everyone to really appreciate this. It's a spectacular bit of human history. There were giants on earth.
He's writing for Sikhs. He's writing stuff in Farsi, yeah, using Arabic terms, and it's mind-blowing. Yeah, and also, just another point, if you're saying about Bani, look at Slok Melanova, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, or there's this Bayant Bani, that for a Sikh, you know, if you understood them, like a lot of people, like for example, that are like me, when we come into Sikhi, we come into it because we experience the divine from Naam, When we're lucky, like I was lucky when I was 21, to get blessed to go to India to learn Gurbani. So I went and learned how to read the scripture. And I can tell you one thing, it's a bit like Lauryn Hill, you know, when she goes, you know, when she's singing that song, Killing Me Softly with his song, When I realized how beautiful the Bani was,
because we meditate to receive knowledge, and I channel this knowledge in my meditation from the Guru. The Guru is guiding me. I understand that these giants, these beings, had an understanding and knowledge for God. And this was before Islam existed. So when my brother says that this is the only knowledge, this is the only supreme thing, what has been written in these texts go back millions of years. Texts predate the era of Islam. And religions come through eras. The Gurus came to re-enumerate the definition of Brahma. The word Hindu is not even correct, because the word Hindu means thief in Persian, in Farsi. So the Satguru came to make Hindus understand what their teaching was really about, because even the Devya Devte, even the ones who were descendants, who had the abilities and the power, even developed ego, even developed Homme. And as I said before, this is a mind-based planet, and the Gurus understood this. Manajit, Jagjit. If we conquer the mind, we conquer the world, and this is a mind-based planet. And Buddhism also is something that understands this. Now, these giants lived on Earth a very, very long time ago. We have no context or understanding of when these giants lived, but there are in the Bible, which then leans towards the story of the Bible being from Mesopotamia to 300,000 years ago, which was around the same time that the pyramids were built. Many giants' remains have been found in the Middle East, India, Iraq, Babylon and Sumeria. And are these the actual Elohim or the Anunnaki who came? Now the word Elohim itself means masculine and feminine, male and female. So this again is throughout the cultures and throughout the language. There is a story in the Christian Bible which has been converted and translated over thousands of years, and this story is about David and Goliath. And Goliath is basically the ego, that Homme, that ego. And David defeats the ego by throwing a rock in between Goliath's forehead, which is the pineal gland, which is in between his eyes, which indicates that all that knowledge and understanding and eradication of ego is actually through that 10th gate, the Dasam Dwar, or the actual pineal gland. Creation itself is understanding what works. And when the ego becomes too great, then creation destroys that. And we've seen this over and over again in many cycles that civilizations have come upon Earth. Over periods of 4 or 5 cycles, humanity has started, it's ended, and then it started again. And this is the whole pretense of where the Gurus are coming from and the teaching of Sikhi, that everything is a lot more broader and deeper. And this is why first we must understand what that human is, to find the source within us and find how old that source is and how old that soul is.
Pandit Lal Chand, his name was, yeah? Pandit Lal Chand comes up to Guru Sahib because how can you be the throne of Guru Nanak? How can you as a little child have the same power of Guru Nanak? Guru Nanak is famous in India by this time. It's been about nearly 200 years for Guru Nanak Ji. Because how can you be the one? You look at your child. Guru Sahib said...
This is about 300 years ago, yeah?
This is about, over 300 years ago now. Guru Sahib says, okay, as a young child, he goes, okay, Panditji. He goes, Panditji said, I want to test you. Explain to me the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a very profound Hindu text written about Krishna, the worship. He goes, explain to me the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. Now here's the test. Guru Sahib says, you know what, Pandit Lal Chand? Not only I will explain it to you, just bring me anybody you want in the whole world, bring them up here, and I will get that person to explain it to you. Cool, isn't it? Pandit Lal Chand goes, I got my opportunity here to embarrass the Guru. He goes and finds a person who is completely unread. He's a water carrier. He goes around, his only job is to give people water. Do you think this guy is very bright? No. They picked him for that reason. He was dopey. Some people say he was even...
He could be the same
I'm not saying, but Chadju was picked for that reason. He was picked. Chadju, some people say he was even mute. He couldn't even speak. So they brought him forward. And Chadju, by the 8th Guru, Chadju, Maharaj says to Chadju, tell this man the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. Chadju starts speaking the most profound truth. Pandit Lal Chand, on that day when he heard, his mouth fell open and he realized that all these books he carried with him meant nothing. That the divine truth could be told by anybody that was blessed by Guru. So our Gurus were, for us, were the divine manifestation, the light of the One. And they could do these things. It was Charles played with them. And they made this guy explain the Bhagavad Gita to Pandit. Pandit Lal Chand on that day became a Sikh. Pandit Lal Chand became a Sikh of the 8th Guru, stayed a Sikh of the 9th Guru, the 10th Guru as well. In 1699, Pandit Lal Chand became Pandit Lal Singh. When the Guru
and passing those teachings on to other saints and other prophets and other gurus was simply aligning that soul, aligning that rule, that jot. If that person had good deeds, was pure of heart, and had thinking not only from the 5 sense understanding, but also thinking from the Dasam Dwar, or the pineal gland and the third eye. Even in the Bible, it says only when the eye is single, that will you be able to see the truth. So the understanding that how religion states truth as God. So if you want to know God, first know truth. All of that concept was just simply aligning these different students, these different gurus through the guruship over the 200 years, was aligning that soul, and that connection was then automatically made. Scientists discovered 70% of your thinking is not even inside of your head or your brain. So everybody has a connection, like a wireless router, like you have laptops and mobile phones, and those devices connect to the router, and then that router has a main connection to obviously the internet service provider on the wide area network, the World Wide Web, the internet. That World Wide Web internet is basically the electronic universe. And the universe out there is where all of this thought is, this prana is, this knowledge is actually in the air. This is how people who have more of a creative understanding, which is the right side of the brain, are more intellectual, have more emotional intelligence, are more perceptive, have something that's known as associative thinking. People who analyze things, inventors, creative people, artistic people, people who understand rhythm, music. This is all the right side of the brain, and this is where that connection is. So 70% of that thinking is not even inside your brain. And even going back 100 years ago, inside of Western development and technology, a lot of people don't know that there was a chap, the most amazing genius in terms of my background is technology and engineering, and the most greatest mind in terms of the modern world is somebody called Nikola Tesla. And he even found and discovered 100 years ago that the very atmosphere of the world that is around the world is a consciousness for the planet. So the Dharti, the earth itself, is alive, and even within Sikhism, we understood this. Now this predates Tesla by about 400 or 500 years. And again, Nikola Tesla worked with somebody called Swami Vivekananda, and this is going again back into Vedanta, the Vedic knowledge, the Vedic empire, where India was actually technologically advanced. And this predates the time of Islam. India's culture goes back 50,000-60,000 years, which predates Islam. So in fact, Islam was something that came into India at the time of Brahma, when they had the mystery schools and the original schools of thought. And as my brother said, those gurus at that time before Satguru weren't the true gurus. It was all about self-realization, self-development. Even Muhammad was meditating, so he himself was trying to discover what the path was. Even Jesus, whose real name was Yeshua ben Joseph, he traveled to India for 18 years to seek enlightenment. So these prophets were actually once students, and they didn't come around, especially in Christianity and Islam, two similar religions that believe that if you don't believe their way, you would go to hell. Two brother religions were actually religions, and their founders were once students who were studying and understanding the principles of spirituality, both in India. Both Christianity went to India, both Jesus went to seek enlightenment from India, Yeshua, and both Muhammad was also meditating, and he found energy. He actually interacted with other beings, or higher beings, or lower beings, or beings that maybe did not have good intentions, that were service to self. So this is something that's very deep and complex. In Sikhism, in Sikhi, our gurus didn't have to become students to seek their knowledge. They already had this knowledge. This knowledge was in a 5 to 7 year old child at the time of Guru Har Krishan. So the Sikhi is very unique, as my brother said. This is why he keeps emphasizing how unique Sikhism is, because he understands Sikhi is a knowledge that is there, that was simply brought again to that part of the world which had lots of suffering, lots of conflict, lots of oppression, to wake people up, to wake humans up, to make humans remember and realize again, and just to reconnect them, the word religion, reconnect them back to the source again. It's not about the religion, it's not even about the belief, it's about what you practice, and it's about your actions, what you do, what you think,
each word having
and what you
4
say.
different meanings. Suddenly you're going to follow that person. Is that all your religion is to you? All someone has to do is make up some poetry of a different language, and suddenly you're going to start following them, because it's not about counting rhetorical devices,
Are
my
you
brother.
trying to understand what I'm saying?
Of course I am. I'm an Oxford graduate in philosophy. I'm just finding that the reasoning is flawed. It's a flawed
if
reasoning.
If you're an Oxford graduate in philosophy, then respectfully, you should understand a very simple point that I'm trying to make, right? You've not understood it. Let me repeat it one more time, yeah? But this time you've got to listen, right? Because if you listen, you understand it.
Maybe here it's not the deficiency in my listening.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fact that the only thing your explanation, maybe the only thing, but maybe also that your reasoning is flawed.
Yeah. Well, this is why Islam is the fastest growing religion on the earth. And
I don't believe in that. If you look at the census, atheism is the fastest growing religion in this country.
Really?
Belief system. Atheism is going faster than Islam.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I'd agree with that.
I mean,
and it's not really about numbers.
We had an atheist become Muslim today. But regardless...
we had a French lady who was very close to accepting Sikhism, but what's that about proof? Oh, no. But it sounds like you are.
No, I'm not. Because look, if you cut me up, you've got to let me make my point.
Well,
so I accept it was a deficiency in my explanation, right? So let me explain it again, right? And I apologize for wasting your time up until now for not explaining it properly. But let me explain it again, right? The Quran is saying, create a chapter like it. If you are in doubt that this is from God. Again, let's define philosophically. Let's give the philosophical definition of what a miracle is. Something that is outside of the productive capacity of human beings, that has no causal or logical connection in terms of the...
And one thing my Muslim brother kept
of the event,
emphasizing and repeating over and over was the miracle of 10 verses or 10 words having 40 different rhetorical devices. But something to me that is more fascinating is understanding how the nod, how sound actually creates light. Science has discovered that sound creates light. Stephen Hawking talks about vibration, string theory. Everything is a vibration. So the universe expansion and collapsing is a vibration. It happens very slowly. The Big Bang was actually an expansion. There was no explosion. It was just a great expansion, and that we are still in that process of expansion. So we are part of creation. And as Rumi said, we are not the drop out of the ocean. We are the entire ocean inside the drop. So the thing to me that is more fascinating than the 40 rhetorical devices is that how sound itself is the Guru. Shabat Guru Surta Tunachella, which basically means that Shabat itself is alive. That Rag, those houses of school, actually invoke an understanding. They connect to the soul. That current is actually alive. That rag is connecting to you on a much deeper subconscious level, and is actually also connecting to your very DNA. So Shabbat itself has the ability to change chemistry, to change the vibration of your molecules. And this is going back to hydrogen and how water works. There was a very good Sikh who written a book, a professor, I don't know his name, written a book called Cavity of Science, which is basically how humans utilize the energy that is in the water inside the body. The body is 70 or 80% water, and how in the times of the Sikhs, and also this goes back to the ancient times, this ancient knowledge again, going back to Shabbat and Sanskrit and song and everything within the ancient mystery schools of sound, how they used to actually use sound to move objects and to carve, and even laser weapons and things like this. If we look at the very old Buddhist temples, they've been carved out with technology. But again, this sound has many uses, and the sound technology actually works with us to create harmony. It creates balance and harmony within us, within our very chemistry. And one of the things that my brother Jagraj Singh didn't actually cover about Guru Bani is that it has been scientifically proven to cure cancer. The Sukhmani Sahib Bani in many patients has cured ailments, tumours, cancers, depression, mental disorders, and this is a miracle that is scientifically proven today. So to me, that has more of a significance than the literature of the way something is written, or that simple point of just being a point to argue or an argument. To me, the sound current and how that works and how that rag is alive and how that Shabad is actually alive is much more deeper and much more important fact than obviously the other fact of how the verse is written in the Quran. And this is something that is on a much wholer, wider scale than simply looking at one teaching or one religion or one doctrine. This is something that is universal, and this is the very reason why this religion of Sikhi, the religion of Sikhism, which I'm proud to be a part of, is a universal religion. There are Sikhs that live in Chardi Kala, that live in bliss on other planets.
What a miracle is, right? Now the Quran, if you look at it, it is outside of the productive capacity of human beings, because I just told you 40 rhetorical devices in 10 words is something that is impossible for anyone to do. No one even comes
says
close,
who?
Right?
Says who?
Says all of history, testimony to...
No, you just said to me you said it's all of history. It's irrelevant. Is it a priori? No, but you said it's a priori. It has to be self-evident without any history.
Okay, that's a very fallacious argument, because what you're doing is...
But have you studied the Guru Granth Sahib Ji? Have you studied Jab Sahib or Guru Gobind Singh Ji in their Bani?
So let's apply this. Let's apply this test
to
the Guru Granth Sahib, right?
Okay.
And then let me give you my deductive a priori argument after that as well.
Okay,
so let's apply this to the Guru Granth Sahib. Just take the first 10 words of the Guru Granth Sahib.
Okay, Mool Mantra. Let's start with Mool Mantra.
Okay. So the first 10 verses, you know them, yeah?
Okay, of course I do.
Right, the first 10 verses, not even first 10 words.
I'm talking about the first 10 verses. Yeah, go ahead.
How many rhetorical devices are in those first 10 verses?
Immense. I'd say more than 40. What are you going to do now?
Okay, but 10 verses is more than 10 words.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but
10 words.
Okay,
10
now,
words is
but
40.
but let's say 10 words is more than 40. Then what?
But it doesn't.
No, but how do you know?
Because
we talked about Jab Sahib earlier.
Yeah.
I'm saying about Japji Sahib. I believe there's more than 14 Japji Sahib.
Yeah.
In fact, the first word, I would say, has about enough meanings to fill about 10 pages.
Okay, so this is the misunderstanding. Now here's the thing. Now if I have